What's up, everyone, and welcome into episode number 529, where it is my honor and privilege to introduce a special guest joining this episode, and that is EMUGA strength and conditioning coach, Cade Bianchi. How are you doing, Cade?
I'm doing fantastic, Zach. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you joining. Hope you had a great Christmas. Also, happy New Year's coming up as well. But appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day, kind of a little bit out of your family time as well to join.
No problem. I'm honored to be on the show and be on the podcast, be able to talk to you, Zach, and to be number 529. That's fantastic. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. 529 already. It seems like I've been doing this for so long. Can't believe it's 529. But obviously, glad to have you on. Glad to talk a little bit about your story because it's a little unique one that I've learned a little bit prior to here. I'm really excited to kind of talk about it. But it's something that it seemed like for you, really like, I don't want to say it was meant to be, but like your background was kind of strength and conditioning. Like as a little kid, your dad talked about strength and conditioning with you guys. He was a coach for you guys as well through that. Just kind of talk about how important it was. Not only do you have your dad throughout that process, but how important he was when he was your strength and conditioning coach and how he kind of raised you a little bit to be one as well.
Absolutely. So I come from an athletic family. My dad was a fantastic athlete in high school and in college. He had some professional looks, but injury kind of took his professional dreams away from him. Um, and you hear that so often in the strength and conditioning world of athletes who had dealt with a career-ending injury or something like that, that then transition into the strength and conditioning world. So, uh, I mean, he was a true student of the game. He ended up not finishing college, but his love for strength and conditioning was unmatched. He was constantly studying methodologies, training philosophies, um, big names in the game of strength and conditioning. And it was an obsession and not a bad one at all. Um,
Yeah.
and so he started us off. It was from day one. As far as long as we could do any type of sports, we were training, and that may not have been weight room. But I remember, being 7, 8 years old, and we have obstacle courses, outside or in the basement, um, or he'd make them games, and first one to do 100 push-ups wins, or first one to
Right.
do pull-ups, sit-ups. I mean, it was just it was the exact way that you want to go about it when training youth athletes is to make it games. And while you're doing that, you're building coordination, balance, um, belief that you can do anything that you want to do physically, but through training and to make it fun, because that's so important,
Right.
especially with youth athletes, is making it fun and making it enjoyable and making it something that they want to continue to pursue throughout life, even from a wellness standpoint. But we started hitting the weight room with him in 6th grade, and it was all basic stuff. At that age, it's just all about the basics. Understanding
Right.
hinge movements, squatting, pressing, all with great technique. At a young age. I mean, that's just number one. But me and my brother, my twin brother, actually, we were undersized. We were small
Okay.
kids. I mean, I don't know if you could tell through the
Yeah.
camera, but I mean, we're both 5'6". We had dreams of playing college athletics, and we knew that our height was an extreme disadvantage. So we had to build up on our what we were good at, which was becoming faster, stronger. We had to control the controllables. We can't control our height,
Exactly.
so we're gonna outwork you. We're gonna be stronger than you. We're gonna be faster than you. We're gonna be more powerful than you. And so training became such a huge part of our youth, and trying to be the best athletes that we can become. But yeah, as far as my dad, when it comes to the X's and O's, he's a genius, true student of the game. I've been a strength coach for almost 4 years now, and I have yet to see someone who is better than him from an X's and O's standpoint as far as programming and his methodologies. It's stuff that I use today with my athletes, and the results show. results most definitely show.
Exactly, and it's stuff that obviously, like you did mention that you use today, but it's also the way he did it at the really early beginning, like having kind of like that competition. Like that's really truly kind of like the perfect way to go because it probably didn't really truly ever feel like it was quote unquote strength and condition, like you're working out to get better. But then obviously once you started to kind of get a little bit older, kind of maybe more of like that eighth, ninth grade year where you kind of start to get into high school, that stuff becomes really like serious, where that stuff is like where people start to really truly kind of like love and like really put in that much time to strength and conditioning, to getting better, to putting on weight in the weight room, to doing more weight. You already had the background of enjoying it, so it probably still doesn't feel like quote unquote like conditioning. It's still something that you kind of like quickly like transitioned into, but it's like something that feels like you've always done before.
Absolutely, absolutely. It became second nature. It became something that if we weren't doing it, something felt off.
Yeah.
Wellness. Like I need to be better. I need to, become a better version of myself. And that'll take you. That doesn't even just apply to sports. That applies to every single thing in life. Every single thing
Oh,
in life.
absolutely. Yeah, and it's going to obviously help you in your general life. It's also helping you currently at Eastern Michigan. But the one thing I really like that you kind of pointed out was that obviously, like, kind of being a smaller guy at 5'6", it was important to really kind of learn to kind of like take advantage, to really put in as much time and effort to getting bigger, faster, stronger as well, to even get to the college level, which was something that obviously that you wanted to achieve. How important was kind of that training with your dad, really kind of that knowledge that he gave you, not only through the training, but like at the kitchen table, outside of the train, to really help you get into college where you're able to eventually excel, where you eventually played football, where you eventually also ran track as well?
I mean, it was extremely important. I mean, like you mentioned, the dinner room conversations, um, understanding, and we would all, split off each other. Like I would study because of his love for it. I mean, it instilled in me and my brother and my sisters. We would all, study little tidbits, and we would mention at the dinner table, and we would bounce, and we would build a program, and we truly loved everything that we did, even though it was a grind. It was that falling in love with the grind, um, that, like we're saying, takes you so far in life. But it also wasn't even just my dad. It was
Yeah,
fantastic being able to get trained and have this that so many other kids didn't have. But the work ethic, like I said, it wasn't just built by my dad; it was my mom as well. When I was 14, my mom got diagnosed with MS. Um,
okay.
and and that was tough for not only her
Yeah,
but us. It's also a big reason why I got into strength conditioning, just because before I found out, you know, the major stuff about it, I thought if I would get into strength and conditioning, then I would be able to help her,
yeah,
and be able to maintain her coordination and her muscle mass and everything. So that was a huge reason why I really fell in love with wanting to find out every single thing I could about strength and conditioning, because I thought that I could make it better. I thought that I could reverse it and get rid of it. There's no cure. But at the
yeah,
time, young 14, 13, 14-year-old Cade thought I need to do this so I can help my mom. Um, but during that time, I mean, she was working 3 jobs, you know. She was teaching, um, she was working at a sandwich place, a local sandwich place, and in Illinois, only my rural Illinois people are going to know what this is, and they might still not know what it is, but she detasseled. And anybody in this
okay.
area knows detasseling is one of the hardest things you can do. It's walking through a cornfield, some might be a mile and a half, 400 yards, like it's crazy. But you just walk through and you pick tassels, and you do that from 6 a.m. to
Wow.
about 3 p.m. And she did this all while having MS, all 3 jobs. She did this just so we can have the money to go to camps, um, to have
Yeah,
the outside training from, football gurus up in like the burbs of Chicago, and we make those trips, to do 7-on-7, just to just to live comfortably, and that instilled that hard work, and I need to do this. It's why I got into track. and why I
Yeah,
stuck through it throughout my college career, football and track. Because it was hard. It was really hard managing both, and then especially in the springtime,
exactly.
both are happening at the exact same time. I got spring ball and I got track practice and speed training for football. So sometimes there'd be 3, 4 different events I'd have to do in a day, and lifting. Um, but the whole time it was just, man, my mom worked 3 jobs so I can get to this point. Stop complaining. Stop having these negative thoughts in your head because you got to get down and work, man. You got to pay this back. Um, at the
Yeah.
time, I didn't have a job, and so they were helping with college and payments. And so I was like, I need to go do track so I can get more money so I can help my family. That's my payment back to them for all the hard work that
Oh,
they
yeah.
put into me. And I truly do feel like I was bred for strength and conditioning, for assisting others, to lead by example.
Exactly, and they both taught you different types of strength, right? Like your dad, like was the one that was like doing the strength and conditioning, like the weightlifting, but then your mom demonstrated a whole different strength. Obviously, like it's tough to go through that. You need strength, but it's also like mental, like overcoming that and like seeing that. And I can definitely see, and I think it's a great thing that like specifically at like 13, 14, that you're like, hey, like I want to do this. I love doing this, but I want to do this to help my mom. And obviously at the time, like at that age, like you obviously don't know like everything. Like even right now, you probably like no one knows everything and anything. Like there's specific topics that you probably know more about strength and conditioning than I ever will. But like you don't necessarily know of everything. But there's the reasons why you do it. And I think the reasons why you started kind of down that path are for great reasons. And I think it's really kind of helped shape you who you are and just really kind of like a path and really just kind of why you wanted to teach people and why you wanted to help people. And I honestly do think the reasons why and just kind of how you got to where you are today is a really great reason why. And I think obviously I know that your parents are probably very proud of you. I'm sure it's something that you're extremely happy, something that you love doing. It's kind of like a full circle moment now that you are a strength and conditioning coach. But I'm sure probably looking back then you're like, hey, that was a pretty cool path to where I am right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm grateful for all the hardship and all the struggle that I experienced as a youth because I think it most certainly prepared me, as well as their teachings, prepared me for the world of strength and conditioning.
And one thing you did specifically mention was that your mom was a teacher, and after being a college athlete, you didn't go directly into strength and conditioning. You actually were an academic teacher for a little while, but that didn't really last a whole ton. How quickly did you kind of realize, hey, like I want to help people, I want to be involved in like either high schoolers, kids, college kids, but it's just not like the academic route. Or it's more of like being that strength and conditioning coach.
It was funny. It was honestly probably about a week after I graduated with my undergrad from St. Ambrose University. Uh, I got my undergrad in humor, performance, and fitness. So strength conditioning, I knew was a route that I wanted to take, but I had no idea how to get into it. Nobody
Yeah.
taught me how to get involved and who to hit up. So about a week after I graduated, I got a call from a principal at it was an alternative school that I taught at. Um,
Okay.
that anybody watching has no idea what an alternative school is. It's kids who have been kicked out of their home school for fighting or drug related offenses, or even just
Yeah.
tardiness. They just weren't showing up to school, and so they get sent to this school. And I thought it was going to be interesting. I thought it'd just be a new test and something that also would help me develop as not only a coach but a man. And so I took this job, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little concerned, if I wasn't a little worried about getting involved in this because one, I didn't get a teaching degree, which you
Yeah.
don't need a teaching degree to get involved in alternative school teaching. You just need a bachelor's. So I think it's because the turnover rate is so fast in those type of schools.
Okay. Did
But
not know that.
no, it was fantastic. I mean, you go there and you learn the kids, and you find out very quickly that a lot of the time, it's just got the short end of the stick, and they ended up in this school. And they're all
Yeah.
fantastic kids. They just needed some guidance. They needed a big brother, and I was 22 at the time, so I mean, I was teaching kids that were, anywhere from 8th grade to seniors in high school. And they were just all mixed in this classroom. And I loved it. Honestly, it was, yeah, I was teaching them and we were learning about every single subject and this and that. And I'm trying to help them become more informed. But it was really just the guidance and trying to help them get acclimated to the real world and understand that there are people that care about them. Because at the end of the day, that's all those
Yeah.
kids need. Just somebody to listen, somebody who understands, and somebody who is going to guide them down the right path. And I loved it. I ended up teaching there for 2 years. It was fantastic, but as it, sometimes you need to do something for yourself, and I didn't feel complete. I didn't feel satisfied with what I was doing. I was making good money. Don't get me wrong, and that was nice because that was the first time in my life I had actually made some decent money that I could survive on. But um,
Yeah.
I wasn't satisfied with what I was doing. My dad, when he was because he was a firefighter, he just retired this year, but he was
Oh, that's
working.
awesome.
Yeah, he worked with an ex head football director for strength and conditioning at NIU. Um, and so he got me in contact with him. He taught me how to get involved in the strength and conditioning and who to talk to. So I sent an email to their head football director and their Olympic director for strength and conditioning. And I said, hey, I would love to get involved. How do I go about this? So we had a couple phone call interviews. Don't ask me how. I have no idea, but I got a paid intern position, um, which wasn't making, great money. It was 4 times
Yeah.
less than what I was making teaching, but I was getting paid, and I'd be in a leadership role over my other fellow interns, which I thought was fantastic. Looking back on it, it was basically a GA position. Um,
Okay.
but it was 2 years into teaching. I got that call. They're like, yeah, we can get you in, but it's going to be significantly less. I actually didn't expect to get paid. I told them I'll come work for free.
Okay.
And when they didn't mention the pay until I ended up quitting, and so they're like, yeah, we can get you in. And I was like, okay. And I went up to the principal and I said, I'm done. Um, I love you guys, and I'm grateful for everything that I've been taught here, and I'm grateful for the children that I got to teach. But I need to do this for me, and they completely understood, and I quit. And I put in my 2 weeks, and then I finished out the semester because it was we're coming up on that
Okay.
winter term, and after the semester ended in December, I started strength conditioning at NIU as a paid intern in that coming January. Quick
I was
process.
just going to say that had to be intimidating, though, to go from having a job that you were making decent amount of money to going to something that you love, but you have such a drop in pay that you're like, this is something I've always wanted to do, but like that's a little bit different of like an approach and a little bit different of kind of like a feeling, knowing that hey, you had some security and now you're taking a big chance on yourself. You don't necessarily know what it'll end up being and turning into.
Absolutely. I mean, pay has never done or been a major concern for me. Um, I do this for free if I had to, and I would survive off the fueling station and the couches, which actually I've pretty much done for the past three years. But no, it's never been about money for me. For me, it's been about giving these athletes the best experience, the best college experience that they could possibly have. Because at the end of the day, a good chunk of these guys aren't going to go professional. It's a very,
Yeah.
very high chance they're not going to go professional. So I look back on my college career and I feel satisfied. And I want the same for these kids. I want them to feel that they were given the best care, the best training, so they can look back on their college career when they're working in their job or hopefully at the next level, but working at whatever job and they
Yeah.
feel good about what they did.
Exactly, and also, like, your background of being an athlete, but also the background of kinda teaching at an alternate school as well had to, like, kinda help kinda transition a little bit into being a paid intern at NIU, because you're dealing with athletes with so many different backgrounds. Like, there's probably athletes that you dealt with that are coming from very wealthy families, and then there's some other athletes that you're dealing with that are coming from areas that are not as well off, that had, like, struggled throughout your life. How important was kinda being an athlete, not only, like, being in a room with the athletes that are from all over the country, but also kinda going to an alternate school and kinda teaching just really kind of experiencing what life is like for those kids that really haven't had or really kind of got the short end of a stick. Like that had to like help you kind of once you got into college, like understand like, hey, everyone has a different journey. And there's just a different way of like, I don't want to say approaching it, but there's just a different way. Like everyone gets here differently.
Most certainly. And that's exactly, I mean, you nailed it. Working with those students at the alternative school helps so much because, I mean, you have to find a way. I mean, these kids are already here because they have a strong dislike for school and the
Yeah.
organized, daily, construct of how the day runs. And it's finding ways to motivate these students to fall in love with the process. Um, and it almost became easy once I figured that out at the alternative school. It became easy working with Division 1 athletes, um, because yes, they do come from different backgrounds, but at the end of the day, these are Division 1 athletes who, more often than not, are extremely hungry. They want
Yeah.
this, want to make it to the next level. Because I mean, even still, if they come from, or even more so, if they come from, you know, maybe a household that's not well off and they've had to struggle their entire life, they have that much more drive to want to make it to the next
Oh yeah.
level, and they're going to listen to every single thing that you say. Um, Especially by creating buy-in. They're going to buy in, um, potentially more quick than an athlete who didn't come from that rough background.
Yeah.
But it's finding those different different ways to motivate each individual athlete, and that's where I learned that. And I'm sure this will circulate some point in the later in the interview, but or in the podcast. But the X's and O's, while they're important, it's not number one. It's about building
Yeah.
relationships. You build a relationship with your athlete, and they fully trust you. That creates that buy-in, and now you're going to get the desired intensity that you want for each specific exercises, and they're going to try and do it to the best of their ability. Whether they succeed or not, they're going to give you their all, and that's all you can ask for as coach, as a teacher,
Yeah.
as a leader.
And having kind of that relationship with them as well, you can probably tell like, hey, are they giving 100%? Can they give a little bit more? And obviously, like you specifically mentioned, like every single person at the D1 level are going to have some sort of drive, or either they're going to have some sort of drive, they're going to have some sort of hunger, or they just have the talent to do so. And some people just have the talent to be D1 and they kind of have to learn a little bit of stuff like little bit more of like pushing a little bit, maybe working a little bit harder. Actually, not saying that's everyone, not saying that's anyone, but like there's some people that just have a kind of like the level of talent that they just need to be pushed a little bit harder than maybe what they have been in the past. And it's about kind of having that relationship, learning from it, and how to push them to get better differently in different people throughout that process.
Absolutely. Every athlete, everybody's different. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Building that buy-in, building that trust. It's the most important thing in strength and conditioning.
Exactly. That relationship, but also learning yourself as well is a really huge part of it, trying to get better on a daily basis. And I know that when you first got to NIU, they kind of threw you a little bit into the fire because you're obviously just kind of starting out. You're trying to get into a little bit. You mentioned like you're kind of quote unquote, like, I don't want to say the manager, but like the above, like the other um intern, like you were really kind of just thrown into a fire. When you were experiencing that, what did you learn most about yourself as an individual, but you're also yourself as a strength coach through that process? Because you can learn so much being thrown into a fire that can be overwhelming, but truly can really install the things that you need to be successful that you didn't know ahead of time or you didn't know you needed.
Absolutely. So yeah, like you said, it was about, 2 weeks into my internship, at NIU. Um, I at the time I had worked with every other sport there, because we really had one weight room. We had another one, but only basketball trained in there. But every other sport trained in this
Okay.
weight room. So I had a lot of experience just working under, and just it was easier. It wasn't as hands on as um, being in that full time or in that head role. Um,
Yeah.
you while you're in that process, you're building relationships with athletes and you're understanding how the coach and you're finding your voice. You're finding your voice because sometimes they'll give you an opportunity to speak and you find your voice. Um, but yeah, about 2 weeks in, I was pulled into the strength coach that left's office. It was a Monday, and he said, "Hey, Cade, I just got a new job. Uh, I'm going to another university and I'm leaving on Wednesday. We need you to, uh, you know, try pick it up. We're going to throw you into the fire a little bit, throw you to the wolves, but we want you to be the guy that takes over baseball and wrestling um,
Yeah.
in my absence." And I was okay. Like honestly, like this is exactly what I had dreamed of, and something that I had
Oh,
prayed for. But I knew it was a long shot, and honestly, I'm not sure how rare it is, but I feel like this doesn't happen very often. An intern gets assigned a head role of teams. And so, I mean, he's like, I understand you might be scared, you might be a little nervous. You're taking two Division I teams, but we need you to step up. And I let him know right then, like, yeah, it's very short notice, but listen, like I was praying for an opportunity like this. So I am extremely grateful that you selected me to have this
yeah.
position. And so I'm ready to go. Um, and so in the rest of that Monday and that Tuesday, I studied, his philosophies, how he spoke, his coaching style. And when he left on that Wednesday, when I took them over, I tried to I tried to mimic him. I tried to do the same thing
Okay.
he was doing, speak the same way. And one thing that I learned as a strength and conditioning coach is that's not the way to go about it. Um,
Yeah.
you need to find your own voice, um, and you need to roll with it because the athletes are going to pick up really quickly if you are non-authentic. Um,
Yeah.
so as a strength and conditioning coach, authenticity and no showing these guys that you were there for them is so important. So that's one thing that I had to learn very quickly because I wasn't getting the same response that he was, and I was like, why is this not happening? Why am I not getting the same response that he got? Oh, it's because they could see right through me. I'm not being
Yeah.
myself. And so once I figured that out and I started being myself, and I started building these relationships with the athletes, then the change happened. Then I let the athletes show that, hey man, like I understand it's unfortunate, especially the wrestlers, not so much. The wrestlers were there to work. They don't care who's there. Um, they just
Yeah.
want someone who's going to be there to train them, to give them a program, to let them work. It's fantastic. Baseball guys were a little more hesitant, um, because their season was just about to start. They hadn't started their season yet, and now their guy that had trained them for, I think at that time he had been there for 3 years. He just up and left right before their
Okay.
season. They were hurt, and now they were given this intern. They weren't sure about him. He's trying to be somebody he's not, so they were upset.
Yeah.
Understandable. I would have been the same way as an athlete. But yeah, just as a strength and conditioning coach, I learned that be yourself, be authentic. The relationships, that's where I first learned the relationships are far more important than the X's and O's. My focus was about the X's and O's, and I got to give these guys the right exercises, this and that. Just it wasn't clicking, it wasn't connecting. I wasn't getting the desired effort that I wanted out of the exercises. Once I started being myself, changed, completely changed. And then
Okay.
one thing I learned as a person is that these athletes, despite how much you know, or anybody in any field, strength and conditioning, the workforce, if they see that you're working hard and that you truly care about what you're doing and you truly care about the people that you work with, um, then things will change. Then you'll start getting the responses that you want. That the respect level will just raise that much higher because you truly love this. I also learned that in that time frame, it's okay to ask questions. I'm coming off all this leadership roles, the head intern, a teacher. I thought that at the time I knew all the answers. Looking back on it, I was foolish of me to assume because I was so young. I
Yeah.
was just an aspiring strength coach at the time. Like I knew nothing. I had all this background from my dad and from my family and this and that. I thought I knew it, but I didn't. I knew nothing. So once I understood that it's okay to ask questions, to do more research, keep pursuing research because you never know everything. Really just using your resources. It's so important. It's so
Yeah, and
important.
that's going to be something that you're going to do for the rest of your career. Like you're going to want to learn, you're going to want to continue your resources, you're going to grow relationships with athletes, you're going to probably also grow relationships with other strength and conditioning coaches. You're going to probably develop your own thing. You're going to probably take on other things that people do. But I want to kind of get back into a little bit of like you kind of finding your own voice. Was there like a specific like moment, or do you remember like when things started to truly like click? Like was there something like when you found your own voice, when you started to do your own thing, you specifically mentioned you started to get the results that you wanted to get. Was there like a specific like time where you're like, this is the moment where I knew like not only I found my voice, but this is where everything like changed, or was it kind of gradual throughout that?
It was gradual. Like it definitely wasn't a day, but it was about that time where I was like, I'm not getting the desired effect that I have. Like, and I talked to our head director for football at the time, Junie Barnett, and I'm like, hey, like I don't understand. Like, what can I do to really let this click? And they're like, well, I see you trying to be a little, and then he mentioned the coach's name. I see you trying to be a little version of him. Stop doing that. We brought you on for a reason because we like you and your personality. So just be yourself. And I was like, man, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so I started doing that. They also taught me the importance of not just being a weight room guy. You got to be there for the athletes and show the love. And so then I started going to practices and you go to the games, which I didn't know if I was allowed to just because I was their head guy, but I was still just an intern. Um, and
Yeah.
working with these other sports. But then at that point, the other strength coaches that I was working with, they were like, go watch their practice, go watch this, and then they're like, oh okay, Cade's at our practice right now, huh? He's here for us, okay.
Yeah.
And over time, it became that mutual respect for yeah, I'm the new guy, I'm just an intern. This guy cares. This guy truly cares, and he wants the best for us. Um, and then it was also about that time that I stopped walking around like an intern. Because one of the biggest in that same conversation with that football director, when we talked about finding the voice, it was also um, don't don't treat yourself and walk around with the attitude of just the title because the title really doesn't mean anything. Your goal is to be a
Yeah.
head Olympic director someday. Walk around like you're a head Olympic director. Have that swagger, have that attitude, have that confidence. And once I started doing that, there was that belief that okay, this guy belongs here. This guy um, is truly here for us. Um, and there was just a different vibe. And then the athletes, hey, what's up, Cade? And you build these relationships and that's where the belief and the trust starts to come in. Once you start walking around with confidence, remaining consistent, because consistency is key. If you're up here
Yeah.
one day and you're down here one day, then you're gonna lose all your guys.
Yeah.
Uh, just yeah, just being there and believing in yourself.
It's back to the whole point of like you specifically mentioned, like when we started talking about strength and conditioning coaches, especially at NIU, it's back to like they can tell like if you're being authentic or not. They can tell if you truly mean it, and they can tell if you truly have confidence for it. And obviously, you end up finding that voice, you end up finding that confidence. But like I said in the intro, you're at Eastern Michigan now. You're not at NIU anymore. How difficult was it leaving a place that truly gave you your start in what you wanted to, and just when you were starting to kind of figure out things and when they finally were starting to click a little bit for you? Was it, I know in the strength and conditioning world, like you don't typically, especially in college, you don't typically stay at one place for your whole career. There's some guys that do, there's some guys that don't. You have people that move all the time, especially coaches that are really connected with like football. Like you'll see people move all the time. So it's not super uncommon, but it had to be difficult to leave NIU though for you.
Absolutely. I mean, they gave me my start. And as a young aspiring strength conditioning coach who didn't know much, um, and my family's here, my whole plan was to stay at NIU and we'll ride this to the end. Um, but yeah, like you said, it's it's not it's not feasible. It's not something that's going to last a long time. It's necessary to leave to grow. As a young guy,
Yeah.
the only way for me to grow was to learn from the resources that I have, to ask questions, but then go out in the world and do that scary thing that, it may concern you. It may, uh, the uncertainties. Where am I going to live? I'm going to have to find a place quick. I'm at a new school. How am I going to connect with these athletes? But it's doing that scary thing that helps develop you as a coach. I wanted to stay at
Yeah.
NIU so bad. They don't do graduate assistant positions at Northern Illinois. And so once I found that out, it was either I have to go figure this out on my own or they're going to help me out. And I'll never forget the day that they got me the interview with Eastern Michigan. We were in a football, it was a morning 6 a.m. lift, and it was a tough day. And at NIU, it was very militant that how they treated the interns. It was, you're doing this, you're going to be vocal, you're going to be essentially a coach out there. And I remember I was coaching some athlete, and one of my mentors at NIU, Mark Updegraff, he said, Cade, I need you to speak up. I need you to be louder. And I was being loud at the time. He was just always hammering the interns, which looking back on it, I loved it.
Yeah.
I hated it at the time, but I loved it. And I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm doing my best. I'm on this guy. He's like, how are you supposed to be a strength coach at Eastern Michigan if you're not doing it here? And I was like, huh? And all the athletes turned and they started cheering. They were like, yeah. I mean, they weren't
I
super
love that.
thrilled because I
That's
was moving to
awesome.
another MAC school, one of their opponents. But I was like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah, we got you an interview, man. It's gonna happen later this week, so you need to be ready, man. But we need you right now today." I was like, "Okay, I got you." So as much as I wanted to stay at NIU, they knew it was best for me, and I knew it was best for me that I had to leave.
Yeah.
All these great relationships with the athletes, but after seeing them cheer for me when they said they got another position, that let me know like it's okay to leave. You know, you're always going
Yeah.
to have these relationships, and I still talk to some of those athletes at NIU sometimes. They'll hit me up, but they want what's best for you, and that's the relationship that you had built over the years. It's not about keeping you, and they wanted the best for you just as you wanted the best for them. So they knew that leaving was the best opportunity for me, and so that made me feel more comfortable with the transition, with leaving.
What was it like the first time Eastern Michigan played NIU after you got to Eastern?
Well, uh, the first time, because we didn't play them in football that year, it was one of those, uh, one of the times in football where we were on the conference was split and we didn't get to play NIU that year. I was very disappointed in that because I had trained these
Yeah.
guys, been with these guys the entire off season, and now comes football time and I don't get to play them. Um, we don't get to play them. And so it was a little disappointing, but then we got to play them in baseball. Crazy timing. I had never missed a day in my career, not for any events. I had missed countless, family events and this and that. But then it's time for baseball season and it's time to play NIU. And it was one of my best friend's wedding, so I had to miss. It was the first
Oh,
time I had missed. I had told our head baseball coach at the time I'm gonna have to miss on this week before the season was dropped, and he was like, okay.
okay.
Well, then the schedule drops, and of course the wedding date is on the time we play NIU, so I got to miss that. Or so I had to miss that, and I was so hurt. I was so upset, especially because it was the baseball guys who I had been the head guy of for however many months, January to July. And they
Oh
were
yeah.
asking about all that I got back, and all the NIU baseball guys were asking our EMU baseball guys, like, "Where's Cade? Where's Cade? Where's this and that and this and that?" And so I was hurt that we missed it, but we ended up playing them for football this year, and we won.
Okay.
And we won, so that was
Oh,
awesome.
absolutely.
But after the game, getting to see, the first guy that took a chance on me, Junie Barnett, the head director at NIU for strength and conditioning, getting to talk to him, and then see all those guys that had stayed, because the transfer portal, a lot of people are leaving, but getting to see the guys that
Yeah.
that were still there from when I was there, and dap them up, hug them, man. I'm happy to see you, man. I'm happy to see you're doing well, you're healthy. Um, this and that. But coming out with that dub and beating them for the first time for me being there was just fantastic. It was such a good
Oh,
feeling.
absolutely.
Um, but no, it's always love to those guys, but big EMU guy. So that's anytime we get to play them, I'm hoping we crush them. That week just means it means that much more for me personally. I'll express to my athletes how serious this is. Like obviously not making it about you, but like God, we need to crush these guys, man. Dominate on all facets of the game. Like let's do this and
I
firing up.
love it.
It just means different.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And hopefully you obviously get the chance for baseball this year as well. That'd be cool if you got the chance for baseball this year. But obviously you can also see a little bit of like not only your passion, but a little bit of like your personality like coming out there, like just obviously the competitiveness that you have, the drive that you have. But if you were to ask your athletes, and I'm going to put you on the hot spot right now, what kind of like personality, what kind of strength and conditioning coach do you think they would say that you are? Maybe I might have to have one of your athletes on to specifically see if what you think they will say and what they say is different or similar.
You did have one last year. I believe you did an interview with Tyler Kappa.
Oh yeah, I did have Tyler Kappa on.
Yeah, that's my
Good
guy.
guy.
He great guy, great guy. But I would say, once I found my voice, once I got comfortable, which really hit at NIU, once I really figured it out, these guys would call me a juice guy. Um, and it definitely varies between sport. Um,
Yeah.
but I say my football guys, my baseball guys, you have them on. It's a juice guy. Like I love the game. I love training. I love being there for sporting events, and their competition times, and just letting these guys know that I love this stuff, man. I love this stuff. I'm a juice guy.
Oh
Some
yeah.
some coaches are, some coaches aren't. It's all about finding your voice. Um, when it comes to remaining consistent, that has never been an issue for me for working with my baseball guys. I'm gonna get juiced up. I'm gonna yell. I'm gonna scream. I remember I got so hyped one day before a lift. I bang ripped my chain in half. Like I truly love being able to work with this stuff. You ask any of my baseball guys, they're gonna say this guy loves the game, loves working with them, and it's really not hard. I mean, I don't need the caffeine.
Yeah.
I don't need all these stimulants like that. They give me life. They give me life. Working as a graduate assistant, strength or sports performance, strength and conditioning coach. It's long days. 16-hour days, Monday
Oh
through
yeah.
Sunday. It's nonstop action. And so I'm tired a lot of the times, but I can't fake it. When these guys come in, I get life. These guys juice me up and I'm ready to work. I look forward to it. I go to bed thinking about, man, I can't wait to get after it tomorrow in the weight room. What do we got?
Oh,
We got this, this,
absolutely.
this, this, this. Man, I'm so excited to get after it tomorrow. Um, it's the best part of my days, and that's what I truly love doing.
Exactly, and I had a strength and conditioning coach, and I just remember he would come in at like 4 o'clock in the morning and would have a lift at like 5:30, maybe 6 if we're lucky. And there's just AC/DC just blaring in the weight room. He's just jumping up and down, like he's like, "Oh yeah, I got here at 4 o'clock." And one of the most, obviously one of the most like electric people I've ever met is him because obviously not only he loves what he does, but I think almost any kind of strength and conditioning coach, if you're not really kind of that style or really that person, it's probably not going to really end up working out. In my opinion, that's just my kind of approach to strength and conditioning coaches. But that's one of the greatest things is that just kind of the passion that like you guys have, like just how much you love it, just how much time you spend to it. And I know one of the biggest pet peeves he's ever had, and I've even seen him put on social media multiple times, is like when people don't put weights back where they're supposed to be, or you have like a 45 and there'll be like a 35 on there, like you don't pick up the weights. He will legitimately point it out. And I'm sure that's probably one of the biggest pet peeves that you have being a strength and conditioning coach.
Absolutely, it's my standard. And then before the sporting or the year starts, I have a meeting with all my athletes and my staff, and I let them know the standards. I give them all packets. I'll show them, my expectations, what I expect in the weight room, um, and the care level that should be brought within the weight room, because this is your home. I mean, this is
Yeah.
your area where you are getting better. So if you don't treat it with the utmost respect, then
Yeah.
we're gonna do some stuff for it. We every single weight session ends with, all right, get the weight room back up to the standard, and then everybody knows bands, chains, weights, plates, dumbbells, everything has to be ease up, um, because it's more than just a place of moving heavy objects. This is a place where we're gonna
Oh
get
yeah.
better, and you want to have the phenomenal career that you can look back on. This is where we're gonna get better. This is where we're gonna get bigger, faster,
Yeah.
stronger, and build the skills that you're going to apply on the field. So treat it with respect, man. This is your home. And at the end of the day, we're not just building bigger, faster, stronger athletes that may potentially go to the next level. We're building young men and young women that excel in life, and at their job. And there's a care level that they bring to everything, whether that's school, their job, their family, trying to be the best mothers and fathers that they can be, and raise their
Oh yeah.
children. I mean, that's because, like we said, it's a very small percentage of people who end up making it to the next level. So in the meantime, we're going to develop you into the best version of yourself that you can become. Um, it is one of our former head coach for baseball said it's a life program, um, through the environment of baseball, and it's the same thing through the weight room. It's a life program. We're trying to make
Yeah.
you better people.
Exactly. And obviously you want like all these athletes to have successful like careers. You want them to perform well on the field. That's what you're doing to prepare them. You're weightlifting, you make them stronger to perform on the field. But like you also mentioned, not everyone's going to have that opportunity after college. Like there's such a small, minute percent of people that get the opportunity to have it after college. But would you say kind of the growth, like how people like develop as not only athletes but as like people throughout your throughout your like journey so far is some of the greatest feeling in the world as like the job that you have, not only having like the impact that you have on them on the field but also the people that they become off the field and just seeing kind of that journey that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, it's the most rewarding thing for me when I get a text from a former athlete, and he's saying like, "Hey, I just want to let you know, like, um, I miss you, man. Like, I hope you're doing well. I hope the guys are doing well. I just got this job at uh an insurance company, and I'm selling stuff, and I'm doing well, and I'm still training, I'm still exercising, um,
Yeah.
and I'm crushing it. I just got a promotion at my job. I just did this, and it just that to me is more rewarding than than anything in the world. So I know this guy is excelling in life. He's a better person. He's doing well for himself. He's going to be a phenomenal husband, wife, father, mother, if that's the route they choose to go. Um, member of society, and that just feels so good. And
Exactly.
receiving those texts, and hey man, I hope you're doing well, man. I'm doing great. It's really rewarding because that's something that I never
Yeah.
had in college. I never would have thought to text any of my strength and conditioning coaches that, hey man, I hope you're doing well. I hope this and that. Or vice versa, he reaches out to me, which I've done to athletes. It's just that care level and that respect that I'm grateful that what I'm doing made so much of an impact that this guy or girl feels the need to reach out and just wish me well and wish my family well, and
Yeah.
and hear about their success that they're having in their lives. It's so incredible. That's why I do it.
Exactly, and I think that in itself, just athletes reaching out to you just showed like who you are as like a person, show who you are as a strength and conditioning coach, is that you truly not only care about the success of them on the field, but like you care about them off the field as well. You want to have them become better individuals. You want to become like still like working out. And it kind of like goes back again, like full circle to when you were like a little kid. Like this was something that has been kind of taught to you, something that like has been a big part of your life through your dad, through your mom. Like it's about work ethic, it's about putting in the time, it's about just trying to grind. And I truly want to kind of end on this last kind of question because I kind of want to go full circle at this point. If you had the opportunity to talk to yourself, that sixth grade self, you're having conversations at the kitchen table with your dad, your mom's working 3 jobs, you understand like just kind of like life is a little crazy right now. What kind of advice would you give to like your younger self, or what do you hope your younger self would learn about you through your journey that you're going to take on for the rest of your life throughout your strength and conditioning journey, or what, or beyond that, if you end up going like the Olympic route or something like that?
Mm, it's a great question. That's a great question.
I had to end on one doozy, so
Something I tell myself, I guess just trust the process. And to fully, because I remember times where my dad would be training us, and I didn't hate it. I never hated it, but it was tough, and he showed tough love. And it was a grind, but it was something that, looking back on, I do 1,000 times over. So
yeah.
just be extremely grateful, and also what you're getting. I would tell them that what you're getting is extremely rare. That's also a reason why I do this, is because it seemed tough and unfair, and um, I was just getting, you know, beat down, pushed down, with how hard and difficult the coaching and the training was by him. But it made me a better man. It made me mentally strong. It made me a better version of myself. I don't know where I would be today if it wasn't for him and for my mom, instilling that tough love. That, yeah, it sucks now, but it's going to be worth it later. So just trust the process, love it, and be grateful that you have parents that are putting this much time and effort, because not everybody has that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. I think you're going to continue to do that. I think you're going to continue to trust the process. And I think as you kind of build your way up through the strength and conditioning, just world college athletics, I think you're going to continue to see your name brought up. And hopefully it's bigger and bigger and even bigger schools beyond EMU. Or maybe if it is EMU the whole time as well. EMU is a great school as well. I don't necessarily know your whole future plans. You probably don't know your whole future plans. But one thing I do know is that I think you'll be very, very successful at whatever you do. I think any team, any school that has you will be very, very lucky to have you. And I really appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day, longer than what I said it was originally going to be. But I think once we got rolling, I think that time kind of got thrown out the window. But I truly do appreciate you joining. Really hope you had fun. I had a ton of fun. Really do wish you a ton of success. Wish obviously all your teams a ton of success at Eastern Michigan. And maybe we can do this again sometime. Talk a little bit more about weightlifting. Talk a little bit about Eastern Michigan or any other place that you go in the future.
Man, I'd love to, man. I had so much fun being able to talk to you and to be a part of the podcast, and I had a great time. I actually, if you do have some time, I actually wrote some questions for you, man. You interviewed me. You
Okay,
just
go ahead.
Hour and 3 minutes, hour and 4 minutes. Asking questions about me. I don't know if anybody's done this for you, but I got some questions for you, man. So,
I was just going to say, I have never been put on the spotlight in this podcast before, maybe once, but go ahead. What do you
well,
got for me the last couple of
the first
questions?
time for everything, man. Here we go. So, Zach, your first episode of Michigan Sports Podcast was October 14th, 2021. It's a long time ago, man.
It is a long time ago.
How do you think you've grown since the start of your podcast?
That's a good question. I did take a little bit of time off, so it hasn't been a whole ton for years. But honestly, I think it's more of just like maybe a little bit more of my personality has shown. I think that, and I think just a little bit more of comfort of doing this because I'm not gonna lie, when I first started doing this, I would never listen to any of my episodes to be completely honest with you because I hated my voice, which I think I like 99% of people probably do. So I think that was my biggest strength is just hating. I think I was just more of hating my sound of my voice. I thought it was a little bit annoying, but I think almost anyone kind of thinks that. But I think just kind of like growth, obviously, through getting more comfortable doing this, and then I think just growth of like having like a bunch of people on, and I think having the opportunity for them to kind of tell their stories, which is really the one reason why I have athletes on, is for people to get to tell their stories, people get to share their unique perspectives, because every single athlete, every single coach, any specific person has different things to say and different things that we can learn from. And I think that in itself is just unique, and just I love talking sports. So as you can tell, I'll talk sports for hours on end. So I think those are a couple of the biggest growth I've had so far. I'm surprised. I don't want to say I'm surprised you looked at when it started. I hope you didn't listen to that first episode. That first episode is probably awful. But hey, you know what? That first episode is awful, and this is a little bit better. That means growth has happened in those 4 years.
Absolutely, I did listen to that first episode. I there definitely has been some.
I am so sorry. I am so
No,
sorry.
no, because you could definitely see the growth, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's your
Awesome. I
voice.
appreciate it.
It's over time defining your voice, which is what it's all about. That's fantastic. Next question. Where would you like to see this in the next 5 years, or where would you like to take this in the next 5 years?
That's a difficult question to answer for me, because would long term like it's a there's two different ways I can approach it. One way is I'd love to continue doing this in 5 years. And I want to continue to grow this. I want it to get to a specific location I want to get to. There's also the other way, like the dream, like I don't want to say moonshot, but like you know how cool, like this is something I would love to do for like a career. This is something I do currently because I love it. Like I'm not making anything from this. I know a lot of people don't typically make it, but like it's one of those things of like a moonshot is like if I could do this for like a career, if I could be a podcaster, I'd love to do it. But for I don't want to limit myself, because I hate the idea of limiting myself. But if 5 years, if I've still had the opportunity to do this, still have the opportunity to have athletes on to share their stories, to have just anyone and anyone join, I will be thrilled with that, because at the end of the day, what's more important, in my opinion, is doing what you love, having other people help impact other people's lives, and for people to get the opportunities to have their stories told. Because I think there's a lot of athletes out there at like D2, D3, NAIA, JUCO. Like, don't get me wrong, I love having D1 athletes on. I would love to have a NFL, NBA guys on. Like, that would be a dream of mine. But there's a lot of athletes that have cool, unique stories, or don't have the opportunity to share their stories, that I think deserve the opportunity to share their stories. I want to give any athlete at any level the opportunity, or coach the opportunity to share their story. I don't want to specifically say like D1 or bust, because in my opinion, there's so many cooler stories than just that. No hate to D1, because anyone D1 listening to this, please come on the podcast. I'd love to have you on. But I just love the fact that there's so many athletes out there that have so much cool stories, so many unique experiences, that get opportunities, or that I can give opportunities to tell their story. And I hope people listening to this enjoy that.
Man, that's fantastic, especially as a former D2 and NAIA athlete. Uh,
Hey,
that's
I don't get me wrong. I love D2. I was just gonna say some of my like Ferris State, for example. They've shared some of my stuff. Northwood has shared some of my stuff. I've had a bunch of people on from Elma, Hope, Ferris, Northwood, Michigan Tech. It's mainly Michigan-based schools, but I did have someone from Baldwin Wallace as well. So a little bit outside of the Michigan area, but it's just really cool kind of having those guys and people's athletes that have been on that has specifically said, hey, reach out to this person. He has a really cool story. Reach out to this person. He has a really cool story. Reach out to this person, this person, this person. I think that's the coolest part, is that like to get kind of an understand and get to know athletes and have relationships beyond just this. I think is the biggest part, is having that relationship, because relationships, getting to know other people really are the way of life. And I think the more people that you know, the more people that you can impact, the more people you can learn from is what makes life great. And that's what makes athletics great as well.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. I guess just the last thing I have, and I mean, I don't really know if it applies anymore, but your goal to get potentially, because it's very difficult, like you said, to get paid in the podcasting world and to make it out and to do this. How could we, as the people that you interview, how could we do that? How could we assist in that process of making this blow up and helping you out and expand?
Well, I appreciate that question. Honestly, I'm trying to build on YouTube right now. Subscribe is probably the best way to do that. Don't have a ton of subscribers at this point, but honestly, just sharing it, letting people know about it. Like, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter. Like, if anyone's listening to this, like, feel free to reach out to me. Like, I am someone that is happy to have anyone and anyone on. You can be an athlete, you can be a coach, you can be a GA, you can be a student assistant, you can be a student manager. I've listened to other podcasts. I've had student managers on from Michigan State that had to work with Tom Izzo, and there's been some incredible stories about that. I know that student managers, I know that graduate assistants, what you guys go through is a heck of a lot. And I know you don't necessarily always get like the praise. You don't always necessarily get the time. You probably put in way more amount of time than what you're getting necessarily paid for if you're even getting paid for it. Like it's just about the sacrifices that people go through and just kind of about the unique perspectives that people can give is I think the most unique part of that. So I would say subscribe, share stuff like that. But like I said, I'd love to have anyone on. I just love talking about sports and I you're the first one to ever put me on the hot seat. So I appreciate that as well. If anyone's listening to this, still listening to this, if you want to put me on the hot seat, feel free to do so because this was a ton of fun as well.
This was a whole lot of fun. I appreciate you. That was awesome. Like and subscribe to Mission Gang Sports. Do it, everybody. Absolutely.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. No, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for doing this. This was awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Would love to have you back on. Always say to anyone that ever joins is if you ever want to come back, the door is always open. I'm sure we'll probably, hopefully, have you back on. But I truly do, like I said, really appreciate you joining. Really glad that you had fun. Hope you have a ton of success in your career. Hope your athletes have a ton of success as well. And I'm sure, hopefully, we'll stay in contact in the near future about possibly getting you back on at some point.
Absolutely. I'd love to. Thank you.
Absolutely. And that is a wrap to episode number 529. Thank you again to Cade for joining and tune in to the next episode.